Brought to you by DIS, keeping companies connected with cloud-based solutions. Come on, City.
Conor, good to chat with you again. Can I start by actually getting some team news, if I may, and getting an update on the situation with Danny Rowe? I know there was hope that he may make Tuesday and the effects of his cold over the weekend seemingly ruling him out. Are you hopeful that he'll be back and available for Saturday?
Yeah, I think for Danny it's worked in his favour. The game obviously being off against Scunthorpe, so the more days that he's in the building and training, it gives him a better opportunity to be in the squad. Yeah.
Billy Clark was ruled out of Tuesday. Is that a similar case for Salford?
Yeah, no movement on that one. Billy's he's been out there running today, but he's probably a little bit too soon for him. But again, we're just assessing and monitoring him at this moment in time.
As well as that, Richard O'Donnell, I know that he was getting closer with his injury and he's been back in training. How are things progressing with his situation?
No, Rich has made a really, really good recovery, sort of before we thought, to be fair. But he's been out and I think he's doing a full week's training. I think he sort of did the last end of last week and now he's having a full week's training and it'll do him well. So hopefully he's going to be back to full fitness, yeah.
Salford too soon or maybe getting into this Richard O'Donnell?
I think our interests are to protect Rich. He's had a tear, so we need to look after him and make sure that we're not bringing him in too early. So he'll look to be around the squad, but again we'll have to assess.
I'll just pick up on the final bits in terms of team news. The notable absentees, the long-term ones. I know again Reece has been back in training. Is he getting closer to a position or an inclusion in the squad? And indeed, Bryce Hosanna and Lee Novak, one of their situations.
The closest one is Reece. So Reece is back to full training. He came in light training, didn't have any reaction to his previous injury, so I was given the green light to come back to full training. So again, it's a little bit similar to any player that's had a tear in the muscles. It's about bringing them back up to speed and not bringing them back too early. So we'll just keep monitoring Reece and make sure that when he does come back, the risk of that injury reoccurring is low.
You alluded to an earlier point actually that I was going to raise in terms of all these suspensions and cancellations and movements of fixtures. It has meant the long-term absentees potentially haven't missed the games as initially felt or thought. I know that the schedule is going to be pretty hectic for you on the horizon, but at least it gives you more chance to potentially have more key players available for those fixtures when they are rearranged.
Yeah, I think from what you've seen with the injuries and players coming back, obviously we've got Lee and you've got Bryce, who Bryce is probably looking a little bit closer than Lee at the minute. But again, with the games called off, ideally it gives them opportunity to get fit and to be in contention. But we'll see what happens. I think there's gonna be a lot of fixtures coming up, that's for sure.
How does Tuesday's suspension, Conor, affect training this week, or does it change it at all?
It just affects generally what we've done today. We could do a little bit more and put a little bit more through the legs because some players only played 25, 26 minutes in the snow. So these things happen. It's happened quite a lot recently to us. So we again, like we mentioned in the last call, around sort of contingency plans and making sure that we're prepared for lots of different matters.
Bizarre circumstances, yes, but speaking to Mark after the game, he certainly saw value in the 30 or so minutes that he'd seen of you as a side and that you had seen a response from Saturday's defeat. Okay, yes, the game has been suspended, but is it almost like a free 30 minutes to see how the players reacted and responded to the defeat?
Yeah, I think Mark was right. Talked a little bit how we started and what we tried to get back into the side, and we're looking out for those little bits and moments that we spoke about. Mark was happy from his side, and I certainly was. They're a good side. I think the form is showing that, and they've got a lot of injuries that have come back into the squad. So Scunthorpe are a really good side, and and they'll be looking to be like us to pick up the points as quick as possible.
From a coach's perspective, how are the players responding to all the uncertainty and the changes in fixtures? I know you'll say they're taking it in their stride, but it is such a strange season. It really does alter the orthodox, as it were.
Yeah, I think that you could see the disappointment in the players' face. When we told them that the game was going to be called off, and the uncertainties when the snow sort of was like a blizzard, and the refs sort of finding it hard to try and call the game or have a break, or that decision making was tough for him, and the players kind of were a little bit frustrated because they want to just go out and play and put a game plan together and go on with 3 points, but from what happened, that wasn't possible. And like I said, I think that they're going to be even more encouraged to go into the next game to perform, even though the cancellations do happen.
I said, if you can still hear me okay, just your thoughts on the discussions that took place on the touchline in that game, because there was a lot of discussion, deliberation about what the right steps were to be taken, not only with the officials but the opposing dugout as well.
Yeah, I think Mark touched a little bit on it, post-match, just around player welfare and making sure that the people who are out there are safe and we're not putting anybody's safety in jeopardy. So I think you couldn't see the lines on the pitch. We had players mentioning that they didn't know where the halfway line was, the 18-yard box. The keeper's probably thinking, if he had to come out and clear something or rush out, then potentially he's not quite sure where his box is. So I think when you kind of see the pitch, and I saw a picture back and I couldn't believe what I was seeing, and I was like, it was really, really bad. So I think the discussions were good because they tried to give it the best opportunity to play. Obviously they tried the yellow balls, they tried to sweep the lines, they tried to colour the lines, tried to give us a break. So I think they did everything in their powers to get the game on, but it couldn't go ahead.
Away from that game, I wanted to ask you more generally, Conor, just about the training styles and methods that you and Mark have implemented. We've seen a lot of video footage on the club's social media and indeed watching the pre-game as well, the dynamic between you both, and seemingly you getting involved a little bit more than Mark. So what is that dynamic like, and what are your methods and coaching styles? Me and Mark have worked together for a number of years now, and we've tried to find the balance of what works best for us, and we have a really good relationship on the pitch, and our understanding of each other is good, and it's nice as a duo to do that, and to sort of bounce off each other really well, and we've both got our responsibilities, and we're clear and concise with whose role is what, and timings and things like that. So we try and be really organised, and we try and replicate the game as much as possible in terms of the intensity, and the things that we're working on are going to be replicated into the game. So we're just trying to prepare the players and support the players for what they're going to go into against different systems and against different teams. So for us, it's kind of a normal way to work, really. Where do you base your theories on? What's your education when it comes to football coaching more generally?
My own personal one, or?
Yeah.
I think, it's different. I was in an academy since 7 and all the way to 18, and ended up going into sort of professional football a little bit. Played abroad, so I was kind of used to playing different cultures and different teams and things like that. Just over the years, we used to go abroad every year, and you find out as a player, and then as a coach, you sort of to when I was younger, I used to watch a lot of foreign football a little bit more, to be fair. Serie A was the top gun back then, so it used to be Serie A. But again, I think you just build up as you go along, and everybody's got their style of play and what they prefer, and everybody's different. And I think what me and Mark do well is that we're both aligned in how we see football being, and and we've got kind of a blueprint of what we work from that we try and implement, and that we've been trying to do for the past few years. But obviously we've got loads to learn, and we're learning whilst we're playing against League Two teams and the different threats they have. So we're just constantly evolving and trying to support the players as much as we can.
Who was your Serie A side?
It would have to be probably Inter.
Nice.
Ronaldo, Recoba, them types, yeah.
There's some names. But just on the point of football internationally and your experience in being in other countries and seeing different methods and styles and stuff, is that amalgamation then of different ways of football culture? I suppose what I'm trying to get at is the way that football is played and coached in different countries.
Yeah, I think it's different because of weather, a lot of it as well. You probably find you go to the hotter countries and the pressing game is more strategic and planned, and blocks of pressing and setting off, and it just complements the country that you're from, and where I'm not going to say that this league is like La Liga or anything like that, or Serie A. It's totally different, but I think you've just got to try and understand different cultures and learn as much as you can as a coach, and if some method that you feel can work, be brave enough to try it as well.
I'm right in saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you guys have brought in another performance analyst in recent times to crunch the numbers a little bit more. How much do you lean on those statistics?
Yeah, we try to. Obviously we've got Robbie and Scott who work tremendously hard. The hours that they put in is so much. 60, 70, 80 hour weeks, constantly helping and supporting me and Mark and the other staff to have what we need to be prepared for the game. So, it's nice to fall on facts and factual things, and to have evidence behind what you're doing, and to see if the methods are working. So I think, your own eyes are important, but it's also important to get the factual basis behind it as well.
How does that dynamic work then? Do you have daily, weekly meetings in terms of getting the numbers up to date and knowing the ins and outs of the game from a numerical perspective?
It tends to happen straight after the game, sort of on statistics and different sort of scouting reports give you the evidence and things like that, and we gather that and go through it and see how it's gone for us. Yeah.
Just further points on the training sort of things. Again, I've seen on the club's videos that they put on social media the involvement of some of the younger players in your first team training. Suki, Nicky and Wood for being the examples there. How much have you tried to integrate the younger lads into the first team frame, and how much value will that give them?
Yeah, as 18s coaches, when we saw that players went up and they came back down to the 18s, they were learning a lot of things from the first team players. So to give them that experience is huge for their development, and they're picking things up from older players and more experienced players, and they're taking it down to the academy for them to sort of pass on that knowledge. So it's been good to get them two lads in, and there's been a couple more as well at times.
In the same breath, I suppose it gives you an opportunity to see how they fare with that level of quality in training as well.
Certainly, yeah, and they've not looked out of place so far, and as time moves on and they develop physically and as a footballer, then hopefully they'll be good enough for our first team. But obviously things don't always pan out as simple as sometimes it seems. But they've just got to keep working hard for their opportunities.
Moving on to Saturday and Salford, what do you make of them as opposition? They're in good form.
Yeah, and I think we saw the result from the last game. Certainly, the loads of energy. I've been impressed by how they play and what they're trying to implement there at Salford. And Richie Wellens is there, and he was a good player and a real footballer, and likes to have to get players on the ball and get them playing and have an attacking style of play. So I think it's going to be a real big test.
When you do your analysis and your research on the opposition like Salford City, and I know Mark has been asked about this previously in terms of the actual game that Salford City played against Bradford City, a 3-0 win for them on that day, all goals coming in the first half. Do you look at that game in isolation, or Mark answered this in the sense that it wasn't to do with you guys, so you kind of put it to one side, but will you look back at that game and see how the existing players in that performance responded?
We've not done so far. Obviously, Bradford on the night played a completely different system that we've played with this group of players, and certain players were available, and we brought new players in. So I think it would be probably not right for us to go back to that game, because we didn't know what had gone on, in terms of what the game plan was for Bradford City. And Salford have also changed the way that they play, and they're playing a different system. So I think we're going to generally go off the more recent games to give us a better idea of their strengths.
Well, good luck for Saturday, Conor. Cheers.
Thank you, Jimmy. Thank you.
Hi. One of the biggest stories for League Two this week has been the quash on the pay cap. How much of an effect can that have on a club like Bradford?
Yeah, obviously, seeing the news come out regarding the salary cap, it probably does change things for other teams, but for us at the minute, there's not too much that's changing. Obviously, we're in a position now, and the transfer window's gone, so not much talk has been in today about it.
And obviously, with the way the weather's been and the forecast up to Saturday, have you been in pretty constant contact with the ground staff at Valley Parade this week?
Yeah, we've just been getting updates really on how the pitch is and just sort of what maybe issues are there, on things that they've done well on. So yeah, that's constant communication. If anything's wrong, we'll get a phone call. But again, people work hard down there to make sure that the pitch is playable.
And as it looks at the moment, there's no danger of the game not being on.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, it's fine at the minute. So hopefully the bad weather stays away, even though it's coming quite a lot.
Okay, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Good luck for Saturday.
Cheers.
Well, he was sort of talking about obviously the pitch situation and the postponements and what have you. I mean, you touched on it the other day about possibly extending the season. I think Ryan said the same thing. I mean, a few clubs are sort of saying that this fixture congestion is getting busier and busier, and there's very little leeway now, isn't there? So it is getting a situation where sooner or later perhaps they might have to make a decision in the league. Yeah,
it seems that way. From my side, I think I mentioned it last time, and I think you yourself mentioned it as well, regarding the effect that it could have on other things that are going on in the summer and things like that. But I think if things do get a lot worse than they are currently, then it's there's certain things that the EFL might have to do to come up with a solution. But until then, we just crack on.
Well, I think it's 21 games in 12 weeks you've got, so there is not a lot of sort of space there. Should there be another, frozen pitch or waterlogged pitch or what have you? Is there?
No, it's true, and I think regarding like this, the game in the snow is about player welfare, and things might come into fruition of teams are mentioning that they've got players maybe injured or there's too many games, but until that happens, it's probably not right to say.
The other toss of the coin, as you said about players coming back from injury. I mean, you are going to need every single one, and I suppose they're missing less games at the moment, aren't they? So that when it becomes really busy, hopefully you've got plenty of options.
Yeah, that's what you want as managers. You want a clean bill of health and players to come in game by game, and if people are struggling, you've got somebody who's a good player to come in as well. So it's sort of a headache to have when you've got a lot of good players in the building, but I guess with the strength of the squad, it allows us to field strong teams, even if there's quite a lot of games coming up.
No, obviously, the team was picked for Tuesday night. Tuesday night lasted about half an hour, and then obviously didn't happen, so to speak. I mean, do you sort of feel a little bit obliged to pick the same team at the weekend, or I know if other players are available, there's a bit of a conundrum, isn't it? Because you do leave players out when they probably haven't done anything wrong.
Yeah, and that's the drama. If you've got sort of evidence to back up that there's maybe a potential risk of injury coming into the party, then maybe that is a warrant for a change in the lineup. But again, these are the kind of discussions that do take place to make sure that, you know, players that are playing, they're not playing 490s in a row, and they're getting enough rest, and we're sort of treating that person as an individual to make sure that ultimately they're fit for the games.
Well, one other thing I was going to ask you about the other night, obviously the game, you know, is scrubbed off the list, appearance don't count and all that, and yet Elliot Watt's yellow apparently does, which is, how do you explain that?
Well, it's one that you kind of have to double check again, because, you know, I'm sure it is, and then obviously you find out it is a yellow card. So it's just one of them things. You've just got to get on with it. El's got to get on with it, and just make sure that you know, he's not picking up too many yellows, and he gets a suspension. But it's just part of the game. It's the rules, and we've just got to get on with it, I guess.
No, you can't sort of have a go at all the rules, but it does defy logic slightly when when you look in the fixture list, and of course that game will never appear.
Yeah, and, you know, maybe that's a discussion that maybe has to take place within clubs, but, you know, Elliot's been booked and he's got to deal with it.
Brought to you by DIS, keeping companies connected with cloud-based solutions. Come on, City!